Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani here. Happy YouTube live day. Really excited to connect with you all here. What's on your minds? Let's dive in. So just getting my little collagen coffee butter here, getting it lined up. Number one. Number two, I've been doing a lot more organic celery juice in the morning. Why I think organic celery juice has some good benefits. There's a lot of good minerals in there, but the big one is very high in potassium. It's almost 25% of all your potassium's in one thing of celery juice. So I think a lot of people, when they're stressed, when their cortisol is high, you're going to definitely lose sodium. But with chronic adrenal depletion, you're going to pee out minerals. You're going to pee out potassium. And potassium is really important for healthy neurological function. We have what's called our sodium potassium pumps. And we need sodium to come in, potassium to come out, etc. So I think it's 2 in, 3 out. And we need this healthy balance for cellular communication and for healthy cellular membrane permeability to happen, right? So for our cells to work, they have to depolarize and repolarize. And this is how nerve conduction works. And we need healthy sodium potassium pumps working. And it makes sense if we're having a hard time getting enough potassium in, or we're so stressed where we're peeing it out. This is a big thing. So we have to get extra potassium, also extra sodium. I start my day with a lot of high quality Redmond's real salt, which has good quality sodium in there. It's got about 70 different minerals, super helpful. And then I also like to flood a lot of extra high quality potassium. So your best source, organic celery juice, is going to be great. You have a lot of minerals in there that help make building blocks for your hydrochloric acid as well, which is great. And then your Redmond's real salts, and have a whole bunch of extra minerals as well. So it's really, really helpful. And then again, like Anthony Williams, I think he's the medical medium guy. He talks about celery juice. If I were to boil it down, I think it really just comes down to the potassium as the big game changer, maybe some extra minerals that you may get extra where you would be peeing them out, or you'd be depleted if you have adrenal dysfunction. So I think that's the major benefit there. All right, so why don't we dive in and go to some questions? What's up? All right, guys, hope all is well. Hey, Allie, thanks so much. Matt, something crazy happened to my wife the other day. She had unbearable pain in the left ovary that we thought was a kidney stone, but we believe was a cyst that burst. She was passing out from pain. Was scary, but now she's okay. Yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise if it was an ovarian cyst. Now, the question is, why did she have an ovarian cyst? So the big driving factor with ovarian cysts in females, obviously, is going to be that you have high levels of insulin, and the insulin can increase androgen activity, and that can grow the cyst. So anytime we see women that have ovarian cysts, we are working on blood sugar stability, getting the carbs in check. We'll test fasting insulin. We'll test free and total testosterone to make sure those things are in check, and we'll adjust the carbohydrate. We may also use some insulin sensitizing compounds like gymnema, B vitamins, cinnamon, magnesium, vanadium. We may also use something called D-myo-inositol as well to help, and that can be really helpful. And also, yeah, so more than likely a cyst, especially if you felt that acute pain. That sounds like an ovarian cyst, Matt. Okay, Gupta writes in, can you get a false negative for a candida on a GI map test if I'm taking oil of oregano? Yeah, you definitely could get a false negative. Candida tests are notoriously hard. That's why if we even see a little bit of candida, we typically treat. We'll also look at clinical symptoms of candida. White-coated tongue, any type of tinea versicolor rash at all in the body. Just type in tinea versicolor. Type in mild, because if you just type in tinea versicolor on Google Images, you're going to get the worst of the worst, right? So tinea versicolor, athlete's foot, any type of jock itch or yeast infection issue, cradle cap or subheraic dermatitis, any of those kind of things, dandruff, are good clinical signs. Fungal nails, toenails are helpful to diagnose. And then we may also look at organic acids and run a diarabinitol, or we may even run a blood test that looks at candida antibodies, IgG, IgM, IgA. Hope that helps. Does a white tongue due to candida overgrowth go away? It can, yeah. I mean, you may have to topically hit it as well, do some tongue scraping. I recommend a really high quality toothpaste to help too. I'll be carrying it very soon. It's the Revitin brand. We'll try to put references or links down below, but that has tangerine oil, citrus seed oil, lemon, lime seed oil. It's also got a lot of probiotics in there. It's got vitamin K2. It's got CoQ10. It's got a lot of things to help the overall oral microbiome, which I think is really, really important. Alma writes in, are there any supplements to heal gastritis? Well, first off, you got to get to the root cause. So we look at the foods first. Are you doing any foods that could be more inflammatory? So the first things would be like nightshades, coffee, tomatoes, those kind of things, if you're already on a paleo template, will be the big things I would drive out first. If you're not on a paleo template, of course, all the standard American SAD type of diet things, grains, refined fats, excess sugars, all of those things would be first. And then we would probably move to a more autoimmune template. And we may even try cooking all the foods up to make sure the fiber isn't enough to irritate it. And then once we have that stabilized, then we go to the 6 R's, right? Which is the first R is removing the bad foods. The second R is making sure we're digesting that food really well, because poor digested food can sit and rot and ferment and putrefy. And then, as I got to say here, the next thing will be adding in healing, soothing nutrients, glutamine, slippery elm, DGL, all of these awesome, awesome things. Also, anyone, I know people have kind of made in the comments like, hey, you're talking too fast. Hey, YouTube has a feature where you can like make it go, 0.75% or 0.5 of the speed. So if you guys want me to slow down, just use that feature so it will slow down for you. I like to stay in flow state, so all the knowledge coming from here to you all is not impeded. All right, Rashawn writes in, any suggestions for skin infections, herpes zoster, a month after antibiotics? So number one, herpes zoster is going to be shingles, and that's a virus. So doing antibiotics, whoever's prescribed antibiotics for it was probably not a smart move, unless it just came up because you were doing antibiotics for something else. But antibiotics won't touch a virus, number one. Number two, herpes zoster or shingles will happen because you are stressed, because your immune system is significantly compromised. One of the best ways to get passive immunity for shingles is be around a kid with chickenpox. So if you have any friends that have a kid with chickenpox, go hang out with them. You're going to get passive immunity, and it will probably last you throughout your life. So passive immunity through chickenpox. Number two is antiviral support. So we would do silver, we would do monolarum, we would do reishi, we do cat's claw. These are really good compounds to help with the viral aspect. Matt White writes in, could estrogen dominance contribute to cyst growth? I recall Eric Berg mentioning adding in iodine can help greatly. She mainly has been fasting a bit, but mainly been increasing protein. Iodine tends to help more with fibrocystic breast tissue. Ovarian cysts tend to be a little bit different of a thing, because that tend to be driven more by insulin and androgens. A little bit of iodine, though, could not hurt. It would only be helpful. Iodine will help with estrogen metabolism. It will convert estradiol to estriol, a stronger estrogen to a weaker estrogen. But regarding fibrocystic breast, yeah, we topically rub that in, and we'll even do it orally. But definitely you want to get the insulin and testosterone stuff under control. Roxy writes in, what T3 supplement would you recommend? So you have like your typical Cytomel or your liothyronine, which are your conventional T3 supports. And then you have your natural thyroid glandulars, which will have T3 in it. So I always recommend the glandulars first, because there's other nutrients in there. There's T4, there's T2, there's T1, there's calcitonin, there's protomorphogens. There's other nutrients that may be present in the gland. So I always like glandulars first. And then if that doesn't work, then you can go to a bioidentical type of Cytomel or just a liothyronine. Trisha writes in, I'm doing keto for 1.5 years. My potassium is high, 5.8. I take 400 milligrams 3 times a week. Would this be causing this? I thought I needed potassium. So if your potassium is going high, it could just be that you are overly peeing out your sodium and your adrenals are weaker because of it, meaning your adrenals are weak, they're stressed. So your body is actually peeing out that sodium, and then your potassium is going up as a result. So sodium and potassium have a natural, like, let's just say, like a teeter-totter, so to speak. So as sodium goes up, potassium goes down, potassium goes up, sodium goes down. So I recommend getting the extra Redmond's real salt in there to help provide extra sodium. And then on top of that, I would get your adrenals worked on and tested. Alma writes in, how to control hair loss after Mirena IUD removal. So the Mirena IUD is synthetic progesterone. So you need to work with a good functional medicine doctor to help with the estrogen dominance. So most birth controls don't involve progesterones, they involve estrogens. So with the Mirena, you're going higher on the progesterone. And now that you're dropping out, you're probably being slung back into a major estrogen dominance. And that could be affecting thyroid hormone too, because that can increase thyroid binding globulin, which can decrease free levels of T3. So I would work on seeing a good functional medicine doctor to help with the estrogen dominance Now to get you on some herbs to help with that, as well as a cyclical augmentation program with progesterone. Sarah writes in, how can I get rid of perioral dermatitis? I remember you also had it. Yeah, so I had it because of allergenic things that I rubbed on my skin. I've got it cleared up now, which is great, but I have to be really careful of the sun because the sun can bring it out, can flare it up. So perioral is one of these really tricky things is once you have it, you think, oh, like just get some sun. It's natural. Like you don't burn. Like, yeah, but that's enough to bring out perioral. So you need to have a really good sunscreen that is non-comedogenic and that does not have any anything in there that could be like even the natural oils and stuff could flare it. So let me get you the one I use. Oh, here it is. This is a really good one. There's 3 of them that are good. This Vanicream is really good. You want non-comedogenic and you want fragrance-free. This is a really good clean one that I recommend. Just no crap in it. This one actually has CoQ10 in it, which is kind of cool. But you have to, one, have a good sunscreen on during the day because any bit of sun can flare it. Now, females, it's mostly because of like estrogen dominance issues. So you have to get the birth control stuff under control. So if you're on birth control, if you have estrogen dominance, fix that. And then a lot of times healthy gut bacteria can make a big difference. Bacterial stuff can make a big difference. And then a good skincare line that's going to actually help with the skin microbiome because there's a skin bacteria stuff that can be affected. So I use a skincare line that actually has specific pre and probiotics that I rub on my skin every day. And I use the Marie Veronique line. So feel free to click below. We'll try to have some information about this. I use their lipid barrier complex as well as their lipid barrier complex. And there's another one, a lipid something complex. So there's 2 lipid products I use that are in their rosacea line that work great. And then I use their toner, which actually has probiotics in it and some good antioxidants. So I like that line. It works phenomenal. And then just a very simple cleanser to clean your skin and do that, cleanse once a day, put that on twice a day, and then a good sunscreen. Don't let any UV hit your skin. And if you're a female and it's caused by hormone stuff, get the hormone stuff fixed. Great question. Akimo writes in, package issue. Yeah, you guys got to call my office, Akbar. Matarakani, is alternating antimicrobials and probiotics every 10 days for 120 days a good protocol compared to 60 days? I think it's a little excessive. Personally, I think if you have good antimicrobials at a high enough dose and they're different, you're probably okay with that. If the Maillard reaction has to do with browning up proteins, if this reaction causes carcinogens, wouldn't a keto diet be a problem? I'm not sure what the question is. So are you making an assumption that because you're eating meat that's cooked and the cooking involves glycation, that means the keto diet's a problem because you're eating a lot of meat? Is that the assumption? If it is, number one, don't overly cook your meat so it burns. And then number 2, you should be consuming a whole bunch of antioxidant rich vegetables that would negate any glycation oxidative stress that you get from the food anyway. Lydiana writes in, my daughter, who is 20 years old, was diagnosed with PCOS recently. Her menstrual period is every 2 months. Does she need to take something in order to regulate it, or shouldn't worry? No, she should definitely work on fixing it. Needs to get the blood sugar and the insulin and the testosterone under control, and then see a good functional medicine doctor to help get her cycle back on track. Filthy writes in, are scorebiotics and soil-based probiotics the same? If not, what's the difference between them? What are the ones that is better and tolerated more effectively? So spore-based probiotics are just that. They're specific spores, usually in the Bacillus family. Soil-based probiotics, the major brand of that is Prescript Assist. And if you just Google the different bacteria in Prescript Assist, you'll see that they're significantly different. I've heard from a lot of people over the last 1 to 2 years, Prescript Assist actually changed their formula. And a lot of people are not liking what they did to the formula. So something changed. Now, if you just look at the ingredients on the Prescript Assist, so you have different strains. So the sporebiotic ones are going to have like Bacillus clausii, Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus coagulans, the various Lichen-formous species. And then if we look here, Prescript Assist has soil-based Azospirillum, Athrobacter globiformis. It's got some Bacillus in there. And it's got Petuta, Rhodobacter. It's got a lot more. It's got like 28 different soil-based strains. And the spore-based ones are a little bit different. Doesn't quite have all the strains. I don't use any soil-based ones. I think they are helpful. I typically stick more to the spore-based ones, especially with my SIBO patients that really can't tolerate probiotics. But great question. Rashawn writes in, are there any safe deodorant sticks for underarm use that you can suggest? Yes, I have one that I like. I got to get all these people as sponsors because I want to recommend things that I actually use, and then you guys can use it, which supports me, and then you guys know I'm only recommending it to you because I use it. But I like the Native OS. Native OS is great. They have awesome scents. I'm doing my coconut vanilla today. I have one that's arriving today that is a sandalwood and vanilla, and I have a sandalwood and citrus. I have about 3 different scents. They're nice. They're very gentle. They're all natural, and I do very well with them. And they're strong enough to provide protection. A lot of the natural ones, they don't provide enough protection, number one. And number two, they tend to cause irritation. So these do not cause irritation. Some do, so you have to just kind of use the sensitive ones first. The coconut vanilla is a female one, but I think it's very neutral. A woman or a guy could use it. It's very much just coconut with a little bit of vanilla, not overly feminine or masculine. I like that. And then there's a citrus musk, which is really good for guys. And then there's a kind of an in-between vanilla sandalwood, which is really nice. Just a little hint of masculine to it. Really, really like that a lot. What do you think of grass-fed New Zealand freeze-dried lamb? Beef thyroid glandular, 300 milligrams. I don't have a local doc. I don't do well on levo, TSH 4.5, high TPO, and thyroglobulin on AIP diet. Well, first thing is I would always go to the beef first, just because, I'd always go to the pork first because pork is a little bit more biocompatible, and then beef or lamb second. So I'd always try pork first because of biocompatibility reasons. Louis writes in, how good is Bacopa Monnieri supplement for students? It's very helpful for improving acetylcholine, which can help with memory, which is great. Are there any withdrawal symptoms if one stopped it? I mean, I wouldn't think there is. There may be. Everyone's a little bit different, but Bacopa, acetylcholine, adaptogens, B vitamins are going to be, PQQ are going to be great to enhance mitochondria, blood flow, and memory. Miss Lee writes in, what could I eat for breakfast as a vegan doing intermittent fasting, trying to heal my digestive system? I want to be full for a few hours. So if your goal is to do intermittent fasting, you wouldn't eat breakfast, right? If you want to do more of a modified protein-based fast, then you could just have some simple coffee or tea and then put some high quality MCT oil in there, maybe a little bit of butter, or if you're trying to be purely vegan, just do MCT oil, and that would give you some extra ketone precursors, and it wouldn't be overly protein-based at all, and that would still allow you to be in a modified protein-sparing fast. Akbar, if you have any questions about shipping stuff, you're going to have to get on the phone with Marianne. You are in India, so it's always harder when we ship to places like that, a little bit far like that. Giovanni writes in, hey, doctor, I'm 49. I had hypothyroidism, now hyperthyroidism. Want to know the reason. Is ashwagandha good for balancing thyroid? Thank you. God bless. Yeah, I'm a big fan of ashwagandha and thyroid. Some people are concerned because it's a nightshade. So I always say, hey, can you tolerate nightshades? If you really can't tolerate nightshades, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers, maybe mushrooms, then we may be careful with the ashwagandha. Again, it's a very small amount, right? 1 or 2 grams is a therapeutic dose of ashwagandha. So we would see how you do with those foods first. And I think it can be very beneficial at helping with cortisol. It can help with the HPA axis. It can help with the immune system as long as the nightshade component is not a problem, number one. And then number two, I want to get your antibodies looked at. So do you have any Graves antibodies like TSI or TSH receptor site antibodies? Or is this more of a Hashimoto's case where the TPO and the thyroid binding or the thyroglobulin antibody is revving up thyroid hormone release? And that's what we're seeing, because a lot of Hashimoto's acutely can feel hyper, but in the end, it's always going to end up as a hypo. If it's Graves, it's a little bit different, because Graves, Hashimoto's is more the thyroid hormone being attacked and spilling out hormone, where Graves is going to be antibodies that are actually stimulating the thyroid to make more, where Hashimoto's antibodies are going to be attacking the thyroid and it's spilling. So one is going to empty at some point. The other will just get whipped and whipped and whipped. But typically they will all end in hypo if you go long enough. Is it okay to have one keto meal a day and the other meal be a regular carb protein dominant meal? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'm fine with that. I always recommend being more ketogenic to start the day so then you can have a nice night of keeping the carbs down and then a nice morning where the carbs are down and you're kind of revving up more on the ketones to start the day. So I definitely like that more. Elvis writes in, is raw cow milk better because of its enzymes, fats, and calcium compared to store-bought pasteurized milk? Yeah, also the enzymes are present in the raw milk, so you can digest the casein better. And then you also don't damage any of the fat globules through the homogenation process. The homogenation is what allows the fat and the milk to mix in together. And you can damage some of those fat globules when that happens. Kelly writes in, having problem with leg cramps during my walks. Do you sell the good electrolytes? Taking none isn't sufficient. Any phosphorus and potassium, chronically low, even with Just in Health subs. So first thing I would do, Kelly, is I would make sure you're getting enough Redmond's real salt. That's number one. Number two, you can add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which will help mobilize your minerals. And then number three is you can get some extra potassium. So you can get new-salt and new-salt. If you don't like that, there's another product I like called 40,000 volts. There's another one called Endure that are really good. Email my office and we can get you those if you need. All right, guys, any questions here on Facebook? Let me check. Louis writes in, how good are Bacopa? Yep, I already answered that question for Louis. Louis, that's a great thing to help acetylcholine, which will translate to good memory. Also, don't forget B vitamins. B vitamins are really, really awesome for helping with mood and cognitive stuff. Rhonda writes in, is pregnenolone safe to take to raise hormones? If so, how much? My estrogen, testosterone, and DHA are all low. Yeah, I love pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is going to help more with the cortisol side, but some can trickle downstream to the hormone side as well. Typically, we're going to recommend the dosing based off of lab work. So anywhere between, I'll go anywhere between 20 to 50 milligrams spread out over the day. So, but we dose that according to labs. Treasure writes in, what could cause my TSH to increase from 2 to 5 after a year on the keto diet? Free T3 is low, free T4 is normal, thyroid antibodies were negative. Yeah, it could be an insulin thing. It could be an insulin thing. It could be an adrenal thing. We'd have to do more testing to figure out what's going on. Some people, there is some data out there showing that potentially a keto diet could negatively impact the thyroid. I think it really depends. If you have insulin resistance, if you fix the insulin resistance by going more ketogenic, that can actually help the thyroid. But if you're not insulin resistant already, and then you go keto, you could potentially overly decrease your insulin, which then can affect thyroid negatively. So it really depends, right? There are people in both camps. I understand why, because you can't both be right. The thing is, you may be right for this type of person, and this person may be right for that type of person. The question is, how do we elucidate who that person is? That's where we kind of step back and we don't have an emotional dogmatic approach. We just look at the data and we look at the person and we make that assessment. Rashawn writes in, both high protein carnivore diets as well as high fat ketogenic put you in ketosis. So what is wrong with high protein plus fat plus Atkins diet? It just depends what you mean by high protein. So if we're talking protein right around 25% on the higher side, you're probably fine. If you're talking about adding in lots of protein powders or excess of lean meats like rabbit or just boneless, skinless chicken breast, that protein may be enough to trigger gluconeogenesis and not enough fat, and you may go out of ketosis. It's possible. Low Heat writes in, what's chickpea or pea protein isolate brand do you know that has low lectins, is certified low heavy metals and BPAs, and is non-GMO pesticide free? That'd be mine. True Pea Protein is a great one. That one is super clean, lectin, low lectin, because all the carbs are pulled out of it mostly, and then it's going to be GMO free and no pesticide and independently tested. So True Pea Protein will be the one I recommend. Head over to justinhealth.com/shop. It's under the nutrient section, or you use the search bar and type in True Pea, TRUPEA. Miss Lee writes in, thank you for your answer. A test said I have low testosterone. How do I raise it as a vegan? Lift weights? Well, number one, honestly, don't be a vegan. You're not going to get important fat-soluble vitamins and cholesterol that you're going to need to build testosterone. So the first thing is don't be a vegan, or at least get a buy-in on egg yolks and some fish oil. that's going to at least be a good first step. And yeah, lifting a little bit of weights would be helpful, but the big issue is the building blocks aren't there. Amanda writes in, other than the obvious of getting plenty of movement daily and eliminating excess weight, do you have any suggestions for edema? I'm 60 plus overweight, and when I sit for work or really any amount of time, my ankles swell. So first thing is look at potential thyroid issues. Number two, get the inflammation under control. So I always start with foods and those kind of things first. There's a lot of potential variables, but thyroid and get the inflammation down. All right, cool. I got to jump onto a patient call here. I'll answer one more question, maybe two. Ari, I'm taking methyl B12 chewables, 1,000 milligrams. Is one a day okay? Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Christian writes in, are people with MTHFR more prone to SIBO or candida? I am plus 67 TTT or the C677T and been treating for candida, and both my parents have SIBO. Will a keto diet be the best for it? Thank you. I don't see a problem. I'm not sure if there's a predisposition. I wouldn't think so. Lohit, you're welcome. Neon writes in, anyhow, so my question is coughing out a little mucus in the throat, a bad after eating foods. I seem to have some after white potatoes. Yeah, if you're noticing consistent mucus after foods, there's definitely an inflammatory immune reaction happening. Pull that food out. Ari writes in, I've also heard you talk about glutathione. I bought it and I'm taking 250 milligrams of the reduced form first thing in the morning, but I take a thyroid medication. Should I wait a half hour after that? You're probably okay with that because there's not any extra minerals in it, so it shouldn't affect the absorption. If there's like selenium or any extra minerals in there, then maybe hold off. All right, guys, great question. I'm going to be back on Monday with Evan. I'm going to be doing more videos, more content and stuff. I'm back in the saddle here, so let me know what you want me to talk about. Give me some ideas. Make it easy on me so I can just go into my studio and have a whole bunch of ideas already lined up. And if you enjoy the show here, subscribe, hit the bell, get notifications. And if you want to dive in deeper with me, click below and schedule a free consult, or just schedule with me and we can dive in. You guys have a phenomenal day and we'll be back very soon. Take care. Bye.